Okay, let's dive into this. If you've been casually scrolling through the news lately, you'd probably think the AI job apocalypse is literally already upon us, right? Like robots are marching in right now to pack up our desks. But today, our goal is to completely dismantle those apocalyptic headlines using hard, direct data straight from the labor markets of 2026. We're going to cut through the noise and separate the science fiction from the incredibly fascinating reality of what's actually happening to our jobs. I want to hit you right away with this stark, frankly sobering number: 16,000. According to Goldman Sachs's April 2026 data, that is the exact number of U.S. jobs being eliminated every single month directly by AI-driven automation. We're not talking about some 5-year projection from a theoretical model anymore. This is actual real-time displacement happening in the workforce today. And just to briefly compound the shock value of that figure, let's look at MIT's data, which reveals a staggering $1.2 trillion in wages are currently exposed to this structural shift. It's like a giant puzzle shifting in real time. We are looking at a fundamental economic transformation on an absolutely massive scale. But listen, here's where the story gets really weird. This is what we call the unemployment paradox. How on earth do we lose 16,000 jobs a month? Actually, scratch that. How do we lose those jobs and expose over $1 trillion in wages, yet aggregate unemployment somehow remains miraculously stable at around 3 to 4%? I mean, if people are losing their jobs to AI, why aren't the unemployment lines literally wrapping around the block? Well, stick with me, because we are going to solve this exact mystery. Section 1. The AI Job Paradox, a timeline of transformation. To actually solve the mystery of these disappearing jobs, we first have to see just how incredibly fast we got here. Let's walk through this rapid timeline. Back in November 2022, ChatGPT launched, which pretty much kicked off a global experimentation phase. The idea spread like wildfire. Fast forward through 2023 and 2024, and you've got companies aggressively testing AI agents and quietly pausing their hiring. Then boom, 2025 hits with over 166,000 tech layoffs. And that brings us to our current reality. By March 2026, Anthropic reports a massive 14% decline in youth hiring. And by April, Goldman Sachs officially confirms this mass displacement. What was just a fun experiment 3.5 years ago is now officially reshaping the entire global workforce. Section 2. The silent displacement. Why traditional statistics miss the mark. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it reveals the hidden mechanics behind our paradox, which really comes down to this concept of shadow displacement. You see, companies aren't firing people en masse. Instead, they're leaning heavily into attrition-based reduction. Think of a mid-sized financial firm that employs, say, 50 junior analysts. With AI making everyone vastly more efficient, when 15 of those analysts eventually quit or move on, the firm simply only hires 5 replacements. The headcount effortlessly shrinks from 50 to 35 without a single dramatic layoff making the evening news. Combine that dynamic with entry-level hiring compression, where jobs simply aren't created in the first place, and you get these silent, invisible job cuts that totally dodge the traditional unemployment statistics. Section 3. Gen Z's frontline battle. The entry-level bottleneck. So, bringing this down to a human level, Anthropic's data reveals a totally critical bottleneck: a 14% decline in entry-level hiring for Gen Z, specifically those aged 22 to 25. Why is this happening? Because the highly routine tasks that used to act as the standard career on-ramp for young professionals, things like writing boilerplate code, pulling basic data reports, summarizing lengthy documents, are exactly the tasks that AI absorbs instantly. While millennials are seeing a minor warning dip of around 3 to 5%, Gen X and boomers remain largely stable or completely protected. Basically, the traditional entry point into the corporate world is effectively being bottlenecked by algorithms. Section 4. Substitution versus augmentation. The dichotomy that defines your career. I know this all sounds a bit daunting, but survival in this new era really just comes down to understanding the mechanics of which side of this divide you fall on. So the crucial point is this: on the substitution side of the equation, AI is performing your core tasks autonomously. The workflow splits, employment in those areas declines, and wages get pushed way down. A prime example here would be routine call center work. But flip over to the augmentation side. Here, AI acts as an accelerator, but you, the human, retain the complex, system-level judgment and outcome ownership. Think of a software engineer who uses AI to write code twice as fast, but still fully architects the entire software system. If you position yourself in the augmentation camp, your employment remains stable, and you actually see significant wage premiums. Every single one of us is going to fall onto one side of this divide. Section 5. The Future Work Framework. Transformation, not apocalypse. And this brilliantly illustrates the macro reality right now, completely dismantling that job apocalypse myth. Look at BCG's April 2026 data. Notice that the smallest slice of the pie here is full elimination. The jobs entirely destroyed by AI, that's actually just 11%. Another 34% of jobs are completely protected due to their limited AI exposure. But the real story, the absolute game changer, is that massive 55% majority labeled redesigned. The vast majority of jobs aren't disappearing. They're simply being reshaped over the next 2 to 3 years. Your job title stays exactly the same, but the daily tasks you actually perform, those radically change. Because of this massive wave of job redesigns, we are seeing some pretty extreme wage bifurcation. Developing advanced AI skills, and let's be clear, that doesn't just mean casually chatting with a bot on your lunch break. It means doing actual workflow design and quality control. That commands a massive 40 to 60% wage premium right now. General familiarity, that'll get you a slight 15% bump. But if you're stubbornly clinging to doing those highly automatable tasks yourself, you're essentially volunteering for a 20% pay cut. Section 6, Your AI Survival Guide. 5 actionable steps to future-proof your career. All right, let's move to and see how this builds into a direct personal strategy, because it's time to translate all this macro data into your survival guide. Step 1, know exactly which tasks in your role automate the fastest, like data entry or basic coding, and actively pivot away from them. Step 2, develop demonstrable AI skill. Build an actual portfolio showing exactly how you use AI to improve both speed and quality. Step 3, always check current market rates before accepting job offers, because salaries in exposed fields are compressing as we speak. Step 4, target fields with growing entry-level demand. Think AI oversight or hands-on clinical healthcare. And finally, Step 5, build up your complex human skills. Focus heavily on ethical judgment, creative problem-solving, and building deep client relationships. You do this, and you position yourself straight into that augmentation category to capture the wage premium. So I want to end our explainer today by challenging you with this genuinely provocative question. Take a hard look at your own workflow right now. Which of your daily tasks will AI do tomorrow? And more importantly, what high-level human judgment will you replace those tasks with? You see, automation isn't just coming, it is already here. But if you actively rethink your daily workflow and step up into the role of the orchestrator, you're not just going to survive this transformation, you're going to completely thrive in it. Thank you so much for exploring this wild data with me today. Keep learning, keep adapting, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.